Where do former presidents live? When a president is living in the White House, his time there is illuminated by the spotlight. But when that president becomes a former president and the White House becomes the home of his predecessor, where does he go? For someone like President Obama, the answer is to remain in Washington, D.C. But that's an anomaly. In fact, he's the first president to do since 1921. Make sure you watch till the end to see the places 5 presidents before him chose as their new locales. Number 1. Former President Obama, Kalorama, Washington, D.C. I'm like the old guy at the bar where you went to high school, right? Still kinda hanging around, like his shirt's buttoned a little too low, still thinks he's cool. That's exactly the description President Obama gave Jimmy Kimmel about himself in an interview while discussing his plans to stay in Washington, D.C. after his presidency. More specifically, the Obama family will unpack in Kalorama, a neighborhood just 2 miles away from the White House. The exclusive area has been home to past presidents both before and after their term. Think Woodrow Wilson, William Howard Taft, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Warren G. Harding, and Herbert Hoover. Before the Obamas purchased it, the 8,200 square foot house they're moving into in Kalorama belonged to Joe Lockhart, who was the press secretary and senior advisor to former President Bill Clinton from 1998 to 2000. Number 2. Former President George W. Bush, Dallas, Texas. Known well for having a deep fondness for his home state, former President George W. Bush purchased a multi-million-dollar 8,500 square foot home in the Dallas neighborhood of Preston Hollow shortly before his second term ended in 2009. According to the Miller Center at the University of Virginia, he and former Lady Laura Bush became part of the Dallas community very quickly by hosting barbecues at the home and partaking in local events. The family had lived in Dallas before from 1988 to 1995, before moving to Austin to live in the Texas governor's mansion. While the price tag for Bush's home is thought to have been quite large, the median price of homes currently listed the Preston Hollow is $549,500 or $221 per square foot, just slightly higher than the Dallas average of $189. Number 3. Former President Bill Clinton, Chappaqua, New York. In 1999, shortly before the end of his term, the Clintons paid $1.7 million for an 11-room home in Chappaqua, New York. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton was preparing to run for the United States Senate. The white Dutch colonial house is shaped somewhat like a barn and is situated in a tree-lined cul-de-sac at 15 Old House Lane. In recent years, it was conveniently a short commute from Hillary Clinton's campaign headquarters in Brooklyn. It had 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and a pool. Today, experts in Trulia estimates it would be worth about $2.7 million. In September, the Clintons also purchased a $1.16 million house next door, but the jury's still out on what it will be used for. Number 4. Former President George W. H. Bush, Kennebunkport, New York. Though it certainly isn't a residence for Bush, his family compound was one of the first places he returned to after leaving the White House. Following his presidency, he and former First Lady Barbara Bush split their time between Houston, Texas and Kennebunkport, Maine, where the Bush family had owned the property for more than a century. When Jeb Bush announced his presidential campaign, the compound started receiving more attention than usual as tourists traveled to the oceanside town for a glimpse of the mansion. Still, locals are said to keep the exact location quiet out of respect for the family, and the house is protected by the Secret Service. According to the Washington Post, George and Barbara Bush still spend 6 months every year at the compound, flying the Texas flag when they're there. Number 5. Former President Ronald Reagan, Bel Air, California. After their departure from the White House, the late Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy divided their time between the Bel Air neighborhood of Los Angeles where he spent much of his acting days, and their Santa Barbara, California ranch in celebrity-filled Bel Air. They moved into a 7,192 square foot ranch-style property at 668 St. Cloud Road. A group of friends brought it to the couple in 1986 and leased it to Mr. Reagan, with an option to buy or continue renting after 3 years. According to the New York Times, the Reagans lived in the property for the rest of their lives, and the estate was bought by the businessmen for $15 million in an off-market deal. Number 6. Former President Richard Nixon, Orange County, California. When Richard Nixon became the only president to ever resign from office in 1974, he already had somewhere to go to. La Casa Pacifica in Orange County, California. He bought the estate, often dubbed the Western White House, in 1969, and the home itself almost became a star. The famous Frost-Nixon interview almost took place here, but radio signals from the nearby Coast Guard that interfered with the filming equipment meant that it had to take place at a neighbor and supporter's home instead. Mr. Nixon sold the home in the late 1980s and spent the rest of his life in a New Jersey suburb. Number 7. Former President Jimmy Carter, The Plains, Georgia. A few days ago, we celebrated the birthday of the man who bridged the gap between the often maligned Gerald Ford and the drug-busting Ronald Reagan. Former President Jimmy Carter. The Plains, Georgia native is certainly unique in comparison to other presidents. The only United States Naval Academy graduate to be elected to the White House endured a roller coaster 4 years in office, but much of his public career began after leaving Washington, D.C. in 1981. After failing to be re-elected in the 1980s election, former President Jimmy Carter retired in Plains, Georgia, Atlanta. The modest home has been in the Carter family since 1961 and is the only home that family has ever owned. According to Realtor.com, living in the neighborhood is relatively affordable as far as presidents' neighborhoods go. The home in rural Plains, Georgia, about 2.5-hour drive south of Atlanta, is a 2-bedroom ranch assessed at just $167,000, which is less than the value of the armored Secret Service vehicles parked outside. It's also less than the median home price in Georgia, which is $213.26 according to the Real Estate Since Zillow. In addition to his affordable home, Carter's frugal tendencies include spending weekends dining with neighbors on paper plates with bargain brand wine. In addition, it says he and wife Rosalind make their own yogurt. Carter has also been known to buy his clothes at his local Dollar General store, according to a 2011 Rolling Stone story that he often flies commercial. Number 8. Former President Gerald Ford, Colorado. Beaver Creek is home to some of the most expensive properties in Colorado, but this ski chalet, which was once home to the 38th U.S. President Gerald Ford, hasn't had the best history on the market. While the original asking price in 2008 was set to $14.9 million, the home had just now sold appropriately on the heels of the 4th of July holiday for $6.65 million. As one of the first lots to be sold in Beaver Creek, it had amazing views and convenient ski-in, ski-out access. The main building has 7 bedrooms, a theater, a game room, a private massage room, a separate caterer's kitchen, and an office. In the entryway, a presidential seal is inlaid with granite and stone. In the office, President Ford's floor tile was left to highlight just how often he used his favorite chair. On the clawfoot fireplace reads an engraved inscription by President John Adams, which originally came from the Lincoln bedroom in the White House. An adjacent pool building features President Ford's signature lap pool. In addition to their ski home in Colorado, the Ford family also had a desert home in Rancho Mirage, California. They needed a place to thaw out after a long cold ski season. After all, this 6,300 square foot desert home features 7 bedrooms facing the 13th fairway of the famous Thunderbird Country Club. When the former president wasn't skiing in Colorado, he loved to golf in the desert. Which of these homes do you think is the most luxurious? Which president do you think is living the modest life after the White House? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.